Hello everyone, welcome to Taiwan Bar. Today we're going to talk about Taiwan Independence. Oh, are you for real? I didn't see this coming. The first ever independence movement in Taiwan is worth commemorating. Taiwan at the time had its own president, check. Vice president, check. General, check. Bubble tea, check. Huh? Bubble tea? Alright, not quite yet. Anyways, the point is Taiwan had already ticked all the boxes. But before expounding on the independence movement, we should understand what sparked the movement, the Sino-Japanese War. In 1894, Korean farmers took up arms to stand against the government. This event was known as the Tonghak Peasant Revolution. The Korean government freaked out and sought help from its neighboring countries. China and Japan rose to the call and sent troops to the front lines. Who'd have thunk that the supposed helpers started a fight between themselves, which ignited the First Sino-Japanese War. Pop quiz! Which of the following is correct? A. After losing in the previous Opium Wars, China began its self-strengthening movement. B. Frightened by America's black ships, Japan started the Meiji Restoration. C. The Sino-Japanese War put to test Japan's Meiji Restoration and China's self-strengthening movement. Class, this will be in the final examination. Please take notes. During the skirmish between Japan's navy and the Qing Dynasty's Beiyang fleet, the latter was annihilated to shreds. Ships were wrecked and sunk, and the remainder of the fleet surrendered. The defeat led to the Treaty of Shimonoseki. The Liaodong Peninsula, Taiwan, and澎湖were all lost to Japan. How did faraway Taiwan get involved in all this? What did this have to do with me? Why was it handed over to Japan as a result of the Sino-Japanese War? What impact did being transferred to Japan have on Taiwan's independence movement and its residents? Let's dive in. In 1895, after the Sino-Japanese War, Japan gained control over the Liaodong Peninsula, Taiwan, and澎湖with the Treaty of Shimonoseki. Russia butted in trying to stop the deal and brought its buddies Germany and France along. All three raised their voices against Japan. Despite the Treaty of Shimonoseki, Japan had no choice but to give up the Liaodong Peninsula. But no way in hell would Japan give up Taiwan. Taiwan was the apple of Japan's eye, as it was in great strategic value, being the key to Southeast Asia. My precious. With the imminent arrival of the Japanese troops, many upper classes and politicians made impassioned speeches to live and die for Taiwan. And voila, an unwilling individual was appointed to be president. Say hi to President Tang Jing-song, Vice President Qiu Fengjia, and Grand General Liu Yongfu. Hence the Republic of Formosa. Here's the flag. Oops, my bad. Here you go. This is war for the independence of Taiwan! Ole, 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 ole. But was independence truly what the Republic of Formosa desired? In reality, Taiwan was just against being ceded to Japan, and the Republic was a cover-up in desire to return to the Qing Dynasty. Even the regnal year of the Republic was labeled Yongqing, which means Qing Dynasty forever! Many of the high society wanted to emulate how the Liaodong Peninsula was successfully returned to China, hoping that with a new independent identity, please help us, don't let Japan take us. Sadly, the same trick didn't work out for Taiwan. After all, Russia had long wanted to construct a railway in the northeast to solidify its power. They weren't just gonna sit and watch Japan take over the Liaodong Peninsula. In contrast, there were no clear benefits for the foreign powers to step in and stop Japan from taking over Taiwan. Sorry, you're on your own. What? As the plan fell through, the Japanese set foot in northeastern Taiwan, which sent shockwaves across the nation, overwhelming the Taiwanese officials and upper classes. Hearts were shattered. My heart is dead. President Tang Jing-song pulled strings and bribed his hometown friend to help him escape to Xiamen, disguised as an old woman. Vice President Qiu Fengjia and other officials fled too, leaving a line behind saying, "The Prime Minister has the power to cede land. The lone minister is powerless in saving the day." And he escaped back to China. As the Japanese army marched southwards, the politicians and upper classes fled like rats fleeing a sinking ship. The moment the Japanese marched into Tainan marked the end of the Republic of Formosa. Rest in peace, 150 days old, around 5 months, not even half a year, alas. The Taiwanese high society talked the talk but caved in reality. Oh, you're welcome. The civilians, however, whoa, they were fury upon opposing the Japanese. In the villages and neighborhoods, everywhere and all around, were rumors that the Japanese would massacre the island. As the officials and upper classes fled before their eyes, the remaining civilians rose to the occasion fearlessly to defend their homeland. Wu Tangxing and Jiang Shaozu from the Hakka village organized rebel armies conducting guerrilla warfare to resist the Japanese all the way from Miaoli to Changhua. This clearly infuriated the Japanese, because they indiscriminately attacked civilians. Children, elders, men and women were all slaughtered. Unlike the officials who talked big yet fled big time, the Taiwanese civilians fought back against the brutal Japanese army. This caused Japan to be condemned by the international community. Bad boy, what you gonna do? After the tragic Battle of Baguasan, the last line of defense was defeated, and nothing thereafter could stop the Japanese. According to the Treaty of Shimonoseki, Taiwanese were allowed 2 years to decide whether to stay or leave Taiwan, to accept the Japanese Empire as their ruler, or leave as they wish. There were around 3 million Taiwanese at the time, but only 5,000 to 6,000 people chose to leave, less than 0.3% of the population. The ones who left were mostly the rich. As for those who chose to stay, well, they didn't exactly do it to become Japanese. For them, their ancestors had lived on this land for generations. Instead, the Qing Dynasty was foreign to them. Thus, whoever the ruler was, they felt attached to this land where they had a sense of belonging. Hold up, let us clarify something. Truth be told, national power-wise, Japan was no better than China. Then how did it miraculously transform itself from a once oppressed to oppressor of other nations? In 1853, US General Perry's black ships entered the port of Japan. The Japanese at the time had never seen steam-powered vessels. It was enormous, black, and was like a floating city. Oh my god! These black ships ran through the locked borders of Japan and made it sign an unequal treaty. The worried Japanese pointed fingers at the Tokugawa shogunate, which couldn't figure out what to do either. Eventually, after a turmoil of chaotic political power struggle, the shogunate withdrew, ending 600 years of military control. Power was restored to the Emperor of Japan. However, the Japanese Tenno, emperor, is held as an incarnation of the Son of God. However, it was treated more like a mascot. Shoguns were the ones with the real power, and so the public didn't feel positive about the emperor's rule. To consolidate his power and solidify the new regime, the emperor worshipping movement began. Many statues of the Tenno were placed all over Japan, and the emperor toured Japan, sending gifts to everyone. Ho ho ho! Merry! By the way, I'm the Tenno. Afterwards, Japan entered into the Meiji Restoration, which lasted for about 20 years. So what was the restoration about? First, it was to meet and greet the big Western powers and to show respect. The famous Iwakura Mission was established. In charge was the Japanese statesman Iwakura Tomomi. Not only was he observant and attentive, he also held a very important position. He was second only to the emperor. Meiji Emperor sent almost half of the country's most important politicians to learn from the West. Go, go, go! The scale of the diplomatic voyage was unprecedented and unparalleled. And they visited different countries for over a year. When they returned to Japan, the reforms were implemented in all sectors of the Japanese government, from politics, the economy, the military, all the way to the everyday life of civilians. Education, life and diet, everything was reformed. For example, before the Meiji Restoration, beef was banned in Japan because cows were deemed helpers and friends of humankind. Keep your hands off my cow! But after the Meiji Restoration, eating beef like the Western countries became a symbol of modernization. Give me a bite! See how much has changed? I love Kobe steak! Moreover, the emperor started to wear suits and even cut his hair short. Many westernized ways of doing things fostered an inclination against the traditional way of doing things. Even though the constant clashes were inevitable during the process of striking a balance between the new and old, these changes paved way for Japan to earn a place on the international stage. Japan's voice became bolder and louder. At the end of the Meiji Restoration, Japan has transformed from a nobody to a powerful force in its own right. With all that being said, we've gained a little more understanding about Taiwan's first taste of independence. In hindsight, it's easy to point fingers, but if you lived during that era, I reckon it wasn't that easy to make the right choices. Today, Taiwan might appear to be an independent country, but we're not fully accepted by the international community. We're constantly walking on eggshells among the other powers, trying to make ourselves stronger and irreplaceable. There's nothing wrong with striving for international recognition, and the story of the Republic of Formosa serves as a precious lesson that we should all bear in mind. You have to show your value. We can't keep relying on others to solve our problems. But what can we learn from Japan's experience in casting away the old ways to take one's place in the modern era? What should we do? After the US forced Japan to open its ports, Japan managed to thrive in the face of adversity. What Taiwan lacks perhaps is a big black ship knocking at our doors. Maybe we need that little push. Hopefully we can come to realize that we have to change before it's too late. What crisis is Taiwan facing? How do we survive in this complicated and interconnected international community? I suppose we should all take the time to ponder over this question. Alrighty! With all that being said, I'm a bit parched. Let's down this sake. See you next time. Bye-bye.